Dave, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
How did you get into the fenestration world?
I got into fenestration back in 1986. There was I was with a friend and we applied for a job through an agency in Birmingham. Went down to Luton for Elomatic. It was GTI Elomatic at the time because they were linked with Combimatic machinery. Got a job as a service engineer back in 1986 for 18 months, and then they pushed me onto sales. After that, 1990, had a good time at Elomatic, GTI Elomatic, good company. Went on my own because I didn't want to continue in sales. I wanted to be an engineer. Brought up as an engineer, I wanted to stay an engineer. But the moment I left, I did ask Elomatic if I could buy machines from them. They said no. I said, okay, fine. But people just kept asking me for machines. And I remember one company, Ailzone Windows, he said, Dave, we need all these machines. I said, go to Elomatic. They're a good company. I've just worked with them for 5 years. I said, Dave, I want to buy off you. I went, oh, I'll see if I can get a price in for you. I had no idea I was going to sell machinery. Didn't really set out to set the world on fire, just wanted to be an engineer. Sales got me down a little bit towards the end because of it didn't seem to be for me. How things have changed. The only other place I could get machinery from at the time was Barry Irons Machinery. A lot of the older people would know where Barry Irons, he's been out of the industry quite a while now. But you could get me urban machinery, and so I bought machinery off Barry Irons, installed it, got paid. Great start to my self-employed status back in 1990. And things just grew from there. Service machines, got paid, had a brick phone at the time, because I needed communication, so walked in the factory with a toolbox and a brick phone so that people could contact me. Luckily, I knew a lot of people anyway through my days at Elomatic, and they paid me straight away. So I started on my own, and people were quite good, and it just blossomed from there, really.
So, that's really interesting. Also, that kind of makes sense because the way you talk about the machines just out there, it's how they operate and how they work. So that's definitely the technical side of you.
It is, but Elomatic put me on a training course. And the first thing they said to me, engineer, you never sell. But I did manage to sell for Elomatic. I took the turnover for the region from 750,000 to 1.5 million before I left. Right. So I did leave them in good hands. Yeah. It didn't seem, for me, there was too many stop-starts in between. And I understand that now, but at the time, because of my engineering background, I'd be in Norwich at 8 o'clock. I've always been there first thing of the morning and work my way back home so I could get back for the kids, etc. Didn't have many kids. Didn't have any kids at that stage. So it was a good time. I say enjoying my time. I still friends. Phil Evie's just retired from Elomatic. We went out, and Brian Dando, who worked for me, he was at Elomatic. We went out to Brian's wedding last year, 18 months ago. Time flies. Still always been good friends and always appreciate each other, although we've been competitors ever since I left in 1990. We've both sort of had a bit of admiration for each other, I think, from afar, and let us get on with it. So I made some good friends in the industry.
So I'm fascinated by have you always had an interest, or was the engineering side, is that something that sort of developed from school?
Not really. I got an apprenticeship at British Steel. I was quite lucky to get, there was only 2 electricians apprenticeships, and I think there's 4 or 5 mechanical apprenticeships. Lucky to get that apprenticeship, but British Steel were closing. And maybe I've always wanted to work for myself, I don't know. I took the opportunity, rather than stay there and get a bit of redundancy money, I left because I was learning nothing. So I left to work at various jobs in between, and I was made redundant 3 or 4 times at that stage, 21, 22, but managed to get different jobs, stay at different jobs. But Elomatic was the one job that really pushed me and realised how much I had learned by moving away from wiping down machines and just getting a pay packet. It's pretty still till it closed down. So that worked well for me because it made sure I could stand on my own 2 feet. It was a big decision to leave Elomatic because I was on good wage, good commission. XR3i, which was a nice car at the time. Still a nice car now, but to leave that, get a £5,000 loan and spend £4,500 on a battered old Sierra and £500 on a phone, that's my money gone. That's why people paid me straight away, and it was a brave decision. I just got married at the time as well.
All right, tested everything there.
Nothing easy, but yeah, I've always made decisions. Not being reckless, but that sounds reckless. But I've always made decisions and backed myself really, and yeah, it's stood me in good stead, and here we are now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of people I talk to on this podcast, they've gone through a similar situation to you in that they've taken a leap, really, but you have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone on the outside don't see. They sort of think, oh,
No.
Dave's gone a bit, you know. Is he all right?
Yeah.
Giving up a good job. But do you think there's something in, sort of with the redundancies and things like that, working for yourself does mean that you never will be made redundant again and you're sort of in control of your future?
Yeah, you've got your own control. So yeah, you can manage your way forward. But it's difficult when you're on your own. When you work with somebody, you've got people around you and people to talk to. It does help because all the decisions are yours and they're not always going to be right. And we've all made good and bad decisions along the way. I can't think of too many bad decisions. People probably think otherwise, but I've always had that leap of faith, I suppose, and that's what's driven the company forward. When I first started, it was DJT machinery, which is not very elaborate. And then during my time of doing all these new machines, second-hand machines, it evolved. I got the Haffner Agency in 1998. That's why we called Haffner. It's got nothing to do with my parenthood or anything else. Haffner at the time sold automated machining centres were coming out, and I think they sold 2 machines with Promac, who sadly are no longer with us. They sold these 2 machines, but had lots of problems, which you do with early machines. And so they went to Rapide. So I fortunately got in 1998 the Haffner Agency. Now again, leap of faith, going from a one-man band. People immediately thought Haffner had bought me out. I didn't tell them any different. They think what they want to think. And so from a marketing point of view, that pushed me forward. But what Haffner wanted me to do was to sell machining centres to super fabricators. Now, there's only me, engineer, there's Jenny, my ex-wife, and I think we had 1 engineer at the time, Phil. So it was difficult to sell to super fabricators without the right people behind you. So I took a different approach and sold to people doing 100 windows a week, and people thought I was mad because they were buying a machining centre. So me and Jane Ward from Team 4 Marketing put up an advertising campaign with 1 man, 1 machine. And some people remember the stick man because it laid out in layman's terms, if you buy a machining centre, it actually costs you no money when you're doing those kind of figures and making a leap from 100 to 150 windows a week, because your costs in labour, your costs in materials, we can save all that per finance for about £750 a week at the time. It was costing them £1,000, £1,200, depending on the volumes. So straight away they were saving money. So in real terms it cost some money. And we sort of sneaked under the radar while other machinery companies were fighting for, the super fabricators of this world. We went with P&M Windows, which is Paul and Mark, an Alsatian dog, and 2 German engineers in this little meeting and going, "What are you doing, Dave?" I said, "Look, it will work." I had P&M order, Polycastle order, Hanley Tray Frames order, all within the space of about 6 months. And then that went on from there because I'd got the formula. And the formula was 1 man, 1 machine. And that's worked, and calculations work. We used to tell customers, speak to your accountant. Don't believe me, speak to your accountant on the figures. You can see that you're spending X amount on profile, etc., etc. So that seemed to work, and that pushed us forward in the automation game. And from that point on, I went to Glassex, as it was, all the exhibitions. We've all been to all of the Fit Show exhibitions. We're a great believer in marketing, and I've worked well with Jane over the years to push everything forward.
Brilliant. So how did things change after that then? So you were 1 man, and then did you start to build the team as soon as you took over the agency?
Not really. Me and my ex-wife split in 2012, 2011, 12, 13. Were not good years for me, but we split after 20 years together. The drive in between, It's difficult when you're working with wife. I'm working with Matt now. It's not so difficult working with Matt because he's learnt and he probably sees what I do and either takes it on board or not. So he's quite clever in that aspect. He won't do everything that I do. He does it his own way. But at the time, with me, Jenny, and one engineer, I think we did go to another salesman with Nick at one stage, and then 2 engineers with Roy Gotham. But the way we saw machining centres then, we took people over, got them signed off. The German company, Haffner, were quite good in what they did. We'd sign everything off, and then we'd pay for a German engineer to install it. So we knew everything was right, installed, so we would just babysit it with our engineer. Again, with dial-ins, etc., you can cope with that. And so to a certain extent, we coped for quite a long time with just one engineer, and then eventually 2 engineers. We sold quite a lot of machines during my time with Haffner. And to take on people on, Jenny would take somebody on, I'm going, it's no good, she's no good, whatever. And then I'd take somebody on and go, he's no good. So we just sort of, well, okay, we won't take anybody else on. So we sort of left it at that. And we worked our way around that, but stayed, okay, we'll stay where we are. Staying where we are, still in 2011 with all that development, we then bought this factory where we are now. It's now doubled in size since, but we bought this factory now in 2011. Let's say, sadly during that time, me and Jenny split up. It was not a good time for everybody. But on top of that, then we had the 2012, we had the sort of the end of the 2008 recession was coming along. Elomatic, Haffner, Sturz all fell by the wayside. Sturz reopened again. Elomatic was taking over the banks because they got so many people in Germany to keep them together, and luckily they're still there to this day. Sturz, as you know, taken over Stuga now, so they're doing well, I think. Haffner, George Haffner was 70, and he rang me up and said, Dave, that's it, we're going to stop it. So I can put €2 million into it and we can kick again. I said, George, I don't know when the next machining centre's coming from. And I said, if I was 70, I wouldn't. Next week, he didn't. So I thought, oh no, I nearly swore. I had to find another supplier. And looking around the market, everybody was sewn up with machining centres and welding lines, etc. So I again looked further afield. So I know Kaban and Murat come into the market a long time ago and both failed. But I went to Istanbul TÜYAP exhibition. Met an engineer there, went through the machining centres, spoke to the owner, Lucy, said, look, there's an opportunity here. I know you want to get into Europe, America, Canada. Putting it bluntly, I said, you won't do it with the quality of machines you've got now that you sell to the Asian markets, because lots of differences between two-hand control, safety, speed, operations, etc. You need to develop that. But we could make the SPA2 and the SPA4 here. So that's what we did. We made the SPA2 and SPA4. The first ones were a bit not too good. They got their problems because again, it's a new machine for them. So we managed to battle through that period, but that was fighting divorce, fighting machinery suppliers, trying to get orders, keep everything together. Just got this unit as well. Then we went to the GM fundraising, Route 66 cycle ride as well, which I was part of, which I had a great time. Whether they took my mind off everything, I don't know. So we went through all that sort of low and a high point, because I did actually get rider of the tour on that occasion, which I was over the moon with, because I'm not a cyclist, although I do the fundraising, which not anymore. Past that now. But great bunch of lads, great time, helped me through bad times, rallied together. But those were sort of tough times in the industry for me. We battled through that with Lucy and Haffner. We can develop machines in a short space of time. We developed the SMR welder, which I showed you earlier, best welder on the market of its type, probably in the world. There's people have copied, and people do copy good things, don't they? Which is at Flattery, they copy the machining centre. We just keep pushing forward, developing, changing. We make bespoke machines for companies, and I think that's what's drove us forward, all the bespoke machines. We have a good team at Haffner with the sales, the technical with Andy Parker, our operations director. He seems to see things before they happen. So you know, we create some of the best machines on the market, and there's innovative things coming out all the time. As you see, we now partner with Graf and FOM, world leaders in PVC and aluminium, and we've got new technology coming forward all the time.
Brilliant. So, yeah, there's a lot there. The journey is evolved.
Do you want a short answer next time?
But it's sort of, you've been through and you sort of, going back to you not being a salesperson,
yeah,
you know, it sort of shows that there's an argument to say that's the best salesperson.
People buy off people, and when Matt started selling, because he worked in the workshop, I said that the main part of selling is listen. And because I'm talking now, but one-on-one I'm not so bad. If there's a bunch of us, I'll be one just a little bit in the corner. As all my friends would know, I'm not the outspoken person. I just listen, and sales is all about listening, because you listen to what the customer wants. You know exactly what he wants, and then you give him what he wants. There's no point going to somebody and trying to force a welding machine on them, or a machining centre, or a double miter saw. If they don't want it, what's the point of that? There's no fun in that, and there's no joy in that you sold something that somebody doesn't want. So we work with people, and they come back because we give the right advice, or we hope we give them the right advice. And that's been our method and strategy all along. We're here to help. Some customers are harder than others, and not everybody likes us. You know, we try. You know, we try and please everybody, but you can't please everyone. But we try our best for everybody, and we try to listen to what they want. We consult them, and it works. You know, sales is about listening, not just driving sales. And I say with the team we've got, that's what we do, and that's our work ethic, and we don't force anything on anybody.
No, I agree with that, and I think especially now more than ever, I think with you know, review, everything that's out there, people, the internet basically, you know, nothing will get past anyone, and like you say, you can't. I think there used to be a time, mainly with our industry, I know there's stigma around it, of forcing, you know, sales tactics and things like that. But like you say, you really, especially at the level you're at with this machinery, if they can't afford it, you know, it's pointless even talking about it.
We want to help. If people grow, then hopefully we grow with them, because, you know, we sell them the right thing in the first instance, and all we ask is we give a chance to sell the next thing. And we understand they have to ring around and get competitive prices, and you know, we haven't got the right to have the next machine just because they've had a great machine offered in the first place. We still know we have to fight for it. We still know we have to give them the best price we can and the best product we can for what they want to achieve, and not just in the short term, in the long term as well. And that's why, you know, the machines we develop are for small markets, for big markets. You know, we try and do machines for everyone.
I got to be honest, I didn't realise, you know, when you were saying 100 windows a week, you know, that kind of, you class that as...
I suppose, looking back, that was, I can't use the word genius then, but it was, I couldn't, logically, and I think my engineering background gives me a logical path. Logically, I was never going to compete with super fabricators. Why would they buy off me and then spending all this money? What if Dave goes bust tomorrow? What if, you know, has he got the service team to back us up, etc.? And I couldn't say, yeah, we got Germany. We got. You know, it's well, yes, we have got Germany, but then they've still got to fly over here, and they still got to wait, and whatever. And now we got 10 engineers installing machines and servicing machines around the country. As it develops with more and more automation, more service contracts, etc., you need more. We'll need more engineers, but. We're doing that slowly, and we're not just taking anybody on for the sake of it. But automation, I looked at it and worked out that they spend 100 winners a week. They probably spend about £10,000 a month on profile, and I wasn't too far off. And I'd ask people, is that right? A lot of people didn't even know what they spent on profile. When they worked it out, it usually worked out. So 150, 115,000. You can make savings on a machining centre of 10%. So there's and 15,000 on 10,000, 10% is £1,000 a month. Your finance only 750, so straight away you've saved enough to pay for your machine. Your labour, your windows go from 25 windows per man to 40 plus windows per man. So straight away your labour savings, because the machining centre will do all the work for you, your labour savings down the line, instead of 25 windows per man, as I say, so you're 4 people for 100 windows. When you go to 150, you can still retain those 4 people, but you can probably do 160 windows a week. So straight away, you've not employed the labour as you would have done the next step. To do another 150 would have been another 2 people, plus machinery, 60, 70, 80 grand at the time. To me, it was a no-brainer. And once we got that concept over, the machine just keep. So more machines between 2002 to 2006, and then the recession struck. Machining centres everywhere with 2 engineers, because they're so good from Haffner.
Wow.
So yeah,
that says a lot. That does say a lot.
It does. It's but the machines are good machines, and they're even better now. They're back off control. They've moved forward. We put lots of, because even though they're good machines, every machine evolves, and you need to keep pushing forward and creating the next model and the next model. That's why we haven't got the same cars as we did 20 years ago. We haven't got the same machining centres as we did 20 years ago. So yeah, it's good.
So going back to when you started with, how is it different to now? What point did you sort of start pulling away from jobs and letting go on some of the things? Because you were you're into everything, and it's hard to do, isn't it? Because you were, at one point, you were doing everything. You know, you were the engineer, you were the salesperson, you were, at what point did you sort of...
Once divorce had gone through, and just me, Matt, and we got a good backbone with Rachel on finance. Phil was still with me, the engineer. We got Mark in service. So we got a good backbone. So I just continued on sales and service from 2012, 13, 14. I knew to go forward I needed someone else. So I employed Andy Parker, who used to work for himself. He's our operations director now. I looked around me and saw other companies. I'd got somebody technical, Ron Thorne at Elomatic, for example. I think it was Jeff Rook at Promac, Winmac, Combimatic, Elomatic. They'd all got someone there. As a technical guy, I couldn't do everything. So I went down the route of employing Andy Parker. It was a big decision for him because he worked for himself for many years. But he came over because of new technology, etc. And between us, we've created machines, improved machines, designed machines, and still designing machines. We got Andy's over in Istanbul now, going through a new machine that we've got on the market that will come out at the end of the year. We continue going forward, and we love doing that. We go over, look at machines, go to the bar, have a pint, discuss what we've done, create something else. we just talk machines all the time. But that was probably around about 2014, 15, I think, when got Andy on board, and because of that, I then realised that freed me up quite a bit. So I'd sell more.
Right.
So I knew I'd got to sell more because I got to pay for Andy as well. Started to sell more. So I employed a sales director, and it was, I only could do part-time, and a friend of mine, and he helped sort of put procedures in place. Employed another salesman, Andy was my nephew. After 2 years, things changed, and Andy left, and Mike left, wanted to pursue other things. So I realised that my sales would keep up with everything anyway. So that gave me a lot of faith in employing another engineer. So I employed Dave Cousins, and we got busier and busier. Matt came along. We got Brian Dando from Elomatic who came along to do the aluminium side. And we've since got Chris Curran, who used to work at Promac and Camden Frames, who joined us 3 years ago now, I think, just 3.5 years ago. Paul Yo, who was again ex Promac, ex aluminium company, I forget which one. So we just kept pushing forward, and I knew that the more I pushed, the more I could let go. Matt's, as you know, MD now. We changed the structure last year because between us we are sort of all doing our jobs, and that sort of pushed me out a little bit. But that allows me to have the odd day off now and then, and slowly hand all the reins over to Matt, who's MD, let's say Andy Parks, Operations Director, and Brian, Commercial Director. They took a lot off me between them. I still work 4 days a week, 5 days a week. I don't sell anymore, very rare. I'll go out and I'll help the salesmen if they want me to into them. But by and large, everything runs itself now. I still go through things with Matt, and he still reports to me and asks me if he can do certain things, but by and large I say yes. There's very few things I say no to, because he needs to stand on his own 2 feet, and it's a gradual changeover over 2-3 years. The sooner he doesn't have to ask me, and the sooner I can get out of it. Yeah. Not that I want to get out of it. I like the industry and I like working. I've always worked, so I can't see myself as never working. But I think it would be a gradual 1 day a week, or long weekend away, etc. So I'll still be there 3 days probably minimum, which is what I want to do anyway. I want to keep Matt in his place and keep, make sure everything's going smoothly. But we're one of the few companies who've got a plan going forward. There's a lot of people in this industry. Steve Haynes retired now. Unfortunately, Promac went by the wayside, but they didn't have people coming through anyway. Elomatic have probably got a different scenario. But there's Kevin Norris, Jamie Munday. They're all of my era, and so they've all got to have a plan B, and I think we've got a better plan B than most.
No, definitely. And well, talking with Matt, it was nice how it's a team there. It's not, you haven't just put Matt in and said sink or swim. He's got a full operations and other directors to support, and you all work together, which I thought was really good. Yeah,
we got a service team. We're not looking to sell, but we're an ideal company for something to buy, because the structure's there, the team's there, the people are in place. You might tweak it here and there, and obviously, but not we're going to sell, because obviously it'll naturally hand over to Matt. I've got 2 of the children who are not interested in the industry, but they'll get their share of things. Lee's my eldest into computer programming, but not in this industry. He's just about to become a dad, so I'm about to become a granddad for the first time. So next April, so that's good. My daughter works in recruitment in Manchester. She made a fist of it to work on her own, and come out of hospitality and just change her career completely, and she's loving it. Just bought her own apartment. So I'm proud of all my kids. I'm proud of what they're doing, and I try to help them in the background. I'm not trying to push them in any way, but Matt's sort of shadowed me along the way, and at this moment he's still top salesman.
Oh, there you go.
A chip off the old block, was it?
Yeah, it's definitely something in the blood. So, sort of Matt joining and everything, was that easy for you? Was that a no-brainer?
No. Again, with the divorce, I suppose the kids went through quite a bit, and it changed, and it was at the time when Matt was doing his A-levels and looking at universities and whatever, and it just completely threw him. So he started painting machines on the shop floor. Needed a job, get a job.
Yeah.
He always wanted to work for himself, and I said, well, I'm going to retire one day. You will be working for yourself if you want to come on board with this, and it's less of a gamble unless you specifically want to do something that's on your own. So. Yeah, Matt was not easy painting machines on the shop floor. People at 16, 17, 18 have an attitude, and like everybody, like I probably did at my age. So we had good and not so good times. But once he'd realised he doesn't want to paint machines, he doesn't want to be there, we tried him on sales. So, gradually worked on telesales and ringing around customers, trying to get appointments, etc. And we gradually got appointments and went out together. So I coached him along, and gradually went from there. Really went from strength to strength. So yeah, it's good.
No, brilliant. It's definitely, I noticed, because working for my dad, I think I learned early on, if I listen to him, he's been through a lot more than I ever have, and if I listen, it's a bit of a shortcut.
It's not to say we're always right, though, is it?
No, well, no,
and it's nice to put a different angle on it.
Yes, and this is that you sort of find that line. Eventually, sort of maybe technology comes in, or you just know different things. But there was definitely a time where I recognised and respect my dad for his
interview.
But I'm sure Matt went through that as well. Yeah. He probably clicked and thought, actually, Dad knows what he's talking about.
He did, and I think it was about the age of 21 when he finally clicked. So I'd had a few years of ups and downs. He did suddenly click, and then things went. And he does. I remember when I worked for Elamatic, and I drove down from Wolverhampton to Luton every day, and I was there for 8:30. And they said, "Oh, go home at 3 o'clock." I said, "No, I'll go home at 5 like everybody else." So I get back home at 7, 7:30. And they put me in this little office downstairs, and Phil Eve was upstairs, and ringing around trying to get answers. So I'd be running up the stairs. "Can I? Yeah, okay." And back down again, another customer. "Oh, can I sell him this at this price?" And yeah, back down. And it got to the stage where eventually I'll go halfway up the stairs, and I'm going, I know what Phil's going to say, so I just did it. And we all have those click moments, I think. So that from then on, it was easier for me because I had confidence in myself, and now I can do that anyway. Whereas before, and I think Matt had a little bit of that with, well, I've got to ask my dad. Well, now he hasn't got to ask his dad. We do discuss important things because obviously it's still my company. So we do discuss it in important things, but he doesn't have to ask now, he can make decisions. Same as Mark on service can make decisions, Andy can make decisions on operations, the salesman can make decisions. We let people make decisions. We don't have, if they say, you know, Friday ringing 2 o'clock. "Oh yeah, so. Well, where are you? I'm at the pub." "Okay, have one for me then." We don't, as long as the work's done, we don't mind. We're quite open. We're quite good in that way. As you can see, people are still working from home. They come and go where they please. We've got a breakout area that they can come and work. We're not old-fashioned enough to think, I've got all these seats, I want people sitting down. It doesn't work that way, and because of that freedom that we seem to give everybody and respect for everybody, as long as we get that respect back, then it works well. So we're quite a comfortable company working that way, really.
Yeah. So how big is the team then in total?
We got 20 people employed,
right,
through various roles, and I say some people work from home 1 day a week, 2 weeks, 3 days, whatever. And they swap and change. We're old-fashioned enough to have a Christmas party, so which keeps everybody involved, because you can't see everybody, especially engineers. You know, they're out and about. Salesmen come in because they have customers, but engineers come in from time to time, and you know, the engineers down in Essex or up in Huddersfield don't come in so often, etc. So the further away, it's more difficult for them, but we try and keep them involved. And Andy, the operations director, he tries to contact them every day to make sure they're okay. Obviously, they talk to Mark in service and Katie, but it is like one big family. We all try and look out for each other.
Great. It's how every company should be, really. It's just doesn't always seem to be the case.
We've always treated people as we'd like to be treated ourselves, and you know, as I say, on back Elamatic days, he gave me a good grounding. That's Phil Eve, I need to fill my sheets in every day, and 3 appointments and 3 cold calls, and I used to hate it. And that, I think that's one of the things that drove me away from sales, because I couldn't fill 3 appointments, and I couldn't fill 3 cold calls or 5 cold calls. So I'd just drive to night at 8 o'clock and just knock on doors and finish at 5 o'clock and then drive home. Well, it's a 4-hour drive. And Phil was saying, "You're going to kill yourself." I said, "Well, I don't know how else to work. As an engineer, that's what I would do. Yeah. But as an engineer, I'd do the job and come back home." So things change. Things change in the industry.
They do. So You covered the whole country. Where was your limit? I mean, would you go anywhere? Scotland, straight down?
Yeah, we sold machines in Glasgow, Aberdeen, Ireland, Brighton, Carmarthen, Cornwall, wherever people requested, I'd go. But I would always be there at 8 o'clock.
That's the fascinating thing, because I've heard about this, and you know that.
And that's where our engineers are. They get there 8 to 8:30, and if they don't, I'm annoyed. I'd rather them finish at 10 and go home for the rest of the day. It was easy in my day with machines are not as sophisticated or complicated. So for me, I got a young family as well. So sometimes I help with the feeds, and I always made sure I got up early so I could get back around about 4, 5, 6 o'clock. So and not if I was in Cornwall, I'd still drive back, but I may be in Birmingham the next day. But I'd still be there at 8 o'clock, and if I finish at 12, I finish at 12. And it's something I've always done. And so when I worked for GTI, Combimatic, Elomatic, they paid a bonus. So you got 10% of the call-out fee and the hourly rate. So you go down to somewhere like Brighton, I think it was £126 back in 1986. And I'm going, you've got to pay. But I got 10% of that. Whereas other engineers took the kids to school, went to the first job at 10 o'clock, and then maybe did another one in the afternoon, did 2 jobs a day. I'd ring in the office at 8 o'clock, because I'd done the one back in London. And I'd say, oh, there's one in Coventry, you want to do that? So I just worked my way back home. I ended up doing 5 or 6 jobs a day, and I was getting more money than anybody else, but I was working.
Yeah.
And I was on the way back anyway. So that's the way it worked, and that's why I think Derek Parsons said, and maybe Phil Levy as well, said, yeah, Dave would be good on sales. But I worked with my service head to do sales, because I'd not been trained in sales. That's good.
You can apply efficiencies though, and try exactly what you did. You know, you just and that again, going back to that's your logic. You know, if I'm going this way,
possibly, yeah. The main reason I got up early is so I could be back to feed the kids before they went to bed, or see the kids before they went to bed. And you know, it's no fun if you're married and your wife's on your own with the kids, and I'm out working all the time. And our engineers now stop out far more than I ever did. And I did apologise to some of the wives, but they said, "No, we love it. We can watch the telly, we can do what we want. Have a glass of wine." It's because I've always tried to do it the other way around and not like to. I probably say it more now. As I say, I'm going to Istanbul on Sunday. We continues at the moment. We've got about 50 machining centres that are on order at this moment in time without taking anything else on. So we're well placed into next year. The staying out thing, we try to get more engineers so that they will stay local. But you get a machining centre install, and you know we need to put 3 people together, 4 people together, get it done in 2 days, 3 days, and then one man can stay and just tweak it. We're getting far more efficient now machining centre installs, because we're talking to the engineers and they're giving their feedback. And instead of one man for 4 weeks, we've got 4 men 2 days to install, and 1 man to check everything out, the program. We're now changing the way the machines work, so there will be no comebacks from us at all. The macros are macro, your letterbox, it's fixed. We as before, there's a grey area between software people and machinery people, and the customer's piggy in the middle. We'll be eliminating that from the next couple of machines. So going forward, again, that's a new stride forward, which will make things easier for us, make things easier for the engineers, make things easier for the customer. So that seems to be working well.
Right, and I only learnt about macros from John Hewitt.
Yeah.
Oh,
John, yeah.
He did it all himself by the side of things.
Yeah, but John liked doing that kind of thing. I remember taking to Hanley Tray Frames, one of the early machines, and he went, and I heard his podcast, upsell. Yeah, I did upsell him that day, but it's what he wanted.
Yeah,
I didn't force him to have the numbers he was talking. He needed a bigger machining centre, not the SBA2 like Hanley Trade had. And I think he'll say it's the right advice.
Yeah, he did. He just couldn't fit it in.
No, he had a new factory, that's right. But again, with John tried to help me back when I was going through bad times. John knew it. They needed to replace their old SPA machining centres. I mean, the first one worked 24 hours for 10 years, 24 hours a day for 10 years. John would ring me up and say, I need a part. I'll drive up Saturday morning and pick it up from your house, Dave. So I used to get parts and sort of meet him wherever. Because we know it's important if your machine's down, you need to get going. Yeah. And we try our best to do that in the best time possible. But when, again, all this 2013, everything was happening, he was replacing his machining centres, and he came to me, and I've got no money, and it's like £500,000 of machinery. I'm going, I can't do it, John. I said, why? I said, it would kill you. Our machines are not quite ready yet. I'm glad I get that right advice in times when I could have sold it, yep, took the money, and had the easy life, because it was a big decision for me, but an easy decision for me because it's a right decision. And John appreciated that. He did have a lot of trouble with the machines he bought, and he's since bought machines off me since. Although he's sold out now to Rob, really, they bought an SBA4 off me for the Peterborough factory. And I don't regret, telling George Haffner, no, the right thing is don't spend too many euros just to look after me. He hadn't got any family to move it forward, so I think he thought of me as family. But he wasn't there to hand it over wherever, and obviously that time as well, it was a wrong time for me going forward. If it was on offer now, then yeah, no problem. But at that time, because of the circumstance, it just wasn't. I say, John knew it. Gladeswhite came back since and ordered machining centres off me, and SMR welders, etc., etc. That's good.
Yeah, but they say be honest, and that's it. Yeah, that's used to sour really.
Yeah.
It just if you're not honest,
we are an honest company, and I know it's easy for people to say that, but our track record says it, and you can't change that. And speak to Johnny, he'll know that. Speak to George Haffner, he'll know that, and there's probably many other things along the way. As I say, we don't. People come in and say, on a 6-head weld and an 8-head weld line, why? we go, why? And they say, okay, if you got the growth and you got that, and yeah, but you don't. Not everybody knows our machinery the way we know it, knows what the capability is the way we know it, and it's up to us to get that point across and to say, get the right machine for the right company for their growth going forward.
It's fascinating as well how you built it up. You didn't go in because you did it yourself. You went at your own pace and what you were capable of, and you built it up from that. So that the money coming in, and like you say, people were paying you. They were paying you on time because they knew you needed it. You didn't start this business, with the idea of borrowing millions and then.
The only thing I've ever borrowed is $500. I borrowed obviously with mortgage a building at the time.
Best investment,
but. That's what most people do. Yeah. But no, our machines have been sustainable. We've sold enough to replicate and to put back in going forward, and we've always done that and put money back in, so it benefits us and benefits the customers. We want to be the best. I think we are possibly the best. We've got a great range of machinery, great range of products going forward, great people, and we keep pushing forward. And I think Matt's got that mentality, and the other sales and operations and engineers. They like working for us because they know we do things right. And from us, you do an engineer's job. It's nice that you do a job and you get satisfaction by that. And I know that because I've done it. And it's great satisfaction when you turn up and somebody, oh, Dave, help me. And you put the machine right and great, now I can get my windows open. Because they're all under pressure. And they have been even more so over the last 2 or 3 years. I'm not saying we got it right every time. We've had our hiccups the same as everybody else, but we try to minimise that, and developing as we're developing going forward, that will get even smaller and smaller.
Brilliant. Wow. On that note, 3 questions. Out of the whole of the journey, is there a low point that sticks out for you?
Yeah, obviously the low point would be when it all collapsed, and after I went in Germany when me and my ex-wife split up. I've got a partner I've been with for 10 years now, so things move on, don't they? Corin's great, and she does all the marketing for us. She works at home sometimes, and here as well. So things have turned around, but that low point was no machinery, no wife, kids all upset. Quickly put on a high by the blip. I say blip. The 2 weeks, 15 days away with the GM fundraising, Route 66. Some great lads who put their arms around me and helped me through it. But going through that, we just went from strength to strength. So sometimes you need adversity to push you forward.
Well, yeah, and there's this opportunity there, and it just, I think a lot of people.
Otherwise, I've just been ambling along.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the facilities we've got and the way we work, it hopefully goes from strength to strength.
Brilliant. Then the flip side to that, is there a high point that sticks out for you?
No. The high point was getting right at the tour during that bad bit. But overall, I feel privileged I'm able to achieve what we've achieved, but it's not just been me that's achieved it. I've made the right choices with people. Say a few people have been and gone, but by and large the people we got are people who stay, and they've stayed with me a long time. People have been offered better jobs, better facilities, but they're happy in their work. They all got nice cars. We look after them. Nice 5 weeks holiday. I'm happy that everybody's happy, basically.
I like that. Then the last question, the desert island question. So, if you had to spend 2 weeks on a desert island with someone from within the fenestration world, who would it be?
I wouldn't have a clue. There are so many friends I've made, so many good people throughout the industry. GM fundraising brought a lot more of those people close to me, and a lot more. Although I did know half of them, most of the GM fundraising team, everybody I've worked with really. As I say, there's no one person that would. If I had to pick one, it'd be Graham Bailey at Business Micros.
Right.
Because he's like a pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been with me for a long time, and we work together because of machinery installs, etc. Even from the early days. But even though we don't see much, I haven't seen him since his wedding, because we're both busy. And again, he's similar age as me, so he's probably relaxing somewhere on a desert island, not thinking of me. We've probably been close, but not close. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those sort of people that will always be there. If I pick the phone up, he'd be there for me, and I think he'd think there's the same return. But there's lots of people in the industry who, as I say, the GM fundraising team put their arm around me when I needed it. Gary Morton, Gary Toole, Alan Rothwell, Andrew Glover, all of them, and Ian McInnes, everybody. There's so many people, and sorry if I missed anybody out, but there's loads. So I've made a lot of friends, and a few enemies probably during my time.
Brilliant. It sounds like you could fill that island, Dave. So I won't worry.
Yeah.
It's
a big island.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime. Open invitation. But thank you very much.
Thank you.